Hello. So, for my prop project, I wanted to do a prop from a show called A Streetcar Named Desire. And this prop is specifically for a character named Blanche DuBois. Blanche, she's been through a lot. She lived a difficult life. And to get away from that, she wanted to go visit her sister. And she brought with her, her luggage with a bunch of clothes, a box that had some important documents, paperwork, and she brought a heart-shaped box with her as well that carried some of her more precious things, like her rhinestone tiara, bracelets, jewelry, things that, made her feel, beautiful, desired. And I think the overall concept of the director for this particular play that we're working on is desire itself. Each character in this play is desiring something, and they go through a lot and do a lot of crazy things to get what they want. And so that's basically the concept, is just, what does the character desire and how are they going to get it? And Blanche, I think the biggest thing that she desires is, forgiveness. She desires to be forgiven because she did something in her past to someone that she loved dearly, and it just destroyed her. And so I think she, dresses herself up. She does all these things to try and make herself seem desirable because she doesn't feel like she is. And she thinks that, if I can just be desired by somebody, then I can be forgiven because somebody, wants me and loves me and wants me by their side. And so I wanted to make this jewelry box, uniquely for her, something that she could connect to. Blanche DuBois has a very interesting name. It's French, and directly translated it means white woods. And so I wanted to make her box kind of with that in mind. I wanted dark wood, and I wanted, the tree-like, branch-like swirls to look like, white woods or aspen trees. On top of that, I wanted to also add a little bit of sparkle, for snow. And just because girls love sparkly things, it makes it more feminine. And Blanche is very feminine. Blanche, she's very feminine. But these are some of the pictures I used to kind of inspire my my design. And funny enough, I actually found a nail design that has that light sparkle that I was wanting. And so I want to use that, incorporate that using that design. And basically, this is what I want it to look like, ignoring that white part there. But, just that overall effect with this dark color. Wow, it's beautiful. Anyway, and I also wanted it to be a box with a hinge. I think this will be a more convenient way to get into her jewelry box when she's looking for things that she needs. As far as how I'm going to build it, I actually made a list of a lot of the tools I will use and things like that. So I'm just going to go off of it. But what I first need to do is I need to use a chop saw, and with a stop, I'm going to clamp that onto the chop saw table so that I can speedily cut five squares, because I want it to be this thick and this wide, because it needs to be big enough to hold all those jewelries. And so I'm going to use that chop saw to get those. I'm going to glue those 5 squares together, clamp them, and let them sit overnight, and I want them to be really stuck together. And then I'm going to get a heart-shaped cutout paper and put it on, glue it onto that. And that's when I'm going to go ahead and use the bandsaw to, get that heart shape. You have to be very careful with the bandsaw because you have to manipulate it to curve, because it doesn't just curve on its own. So you have to really work with it. And after that, after I've gotten that, I want to smooth out the edges with an orbital sander. And then I'll go ahead and use a table saw because I need to separate two of those, 5 pieces. One piece is gonna be for the lid, and the other piece is gonna be for the bottom, because the 3 middle pieces are actually gonna be cut into, so they're gonna, be see-through. You're gonna see, a hole. To get that hole, you need to drill some drills. I'm gonna drill some drills into drills. I'm gonna drill some holes into that little stack there. And use in the video I watched, he had an actual tool called a scroll saw, which is like a jigsaw. And so in my hypothetical shop, I have all the amazing tools ever. And so I'm gonna have a scroll saw because that's cool. And so I'm going to use that to cut. And the scroll saw is like a bandsaw, just kind of smaller. And I don't even know how to explain it. But it's kind of like this. And it's got its little jig thing there. And then it does its thing. But yeah, I'm going to do that to cut out the interior of those 3 pieces. And just like the bandsaw, you have to manipulate it because it's not going to cut a perfect curve. And then after that, in my hypothetical shop, I also have a spindle sander. And so I can get into the heart and sand the inside, those rough edges. And then I can start, gluing the bottom and the top. Well, I'm not going to glue the top. I'm going to glue the bottom. Clamp that together. And while that's clamping, I can then use my hinges and my screwdriver and screws to, get the hinges on so that I can open it. I'll also have, things like a file to, file off any places that I couldn't reach with the other sanders. Of course, I'll have a measuring tape to measure everything. And I'm going to use lumber because that's the cheapest wood to get, but it's still a good one. And, because I'm talking about my hypothetical shop, like I could use a planer at the beginning before I chop my squares. I could use a planer to kind of thin it out a tiny bit. Yeah, because it's used to mill the thickness, so I could use it because it's my hypothetical shop. So, yeah, yeah, and to get one final thing I forgot to mention earlier. I'm sorry, I'm like trying to talk. I do want to use the wood grain effect to be able to give it that nice woodsy flair, that wood flair. So I'm going to be using polish and varnish to just kind of play with and to get that color that I'm looking for. But besides that, that's my prop, and that's how I'm going to do it. Thank you.